Have you ever stopped for a moment, maybe while sitting alone at your kitchen table or looking out the window early in the morning, and wondered why life feels a little different now than it did decades ago? Not necessarily worse, not necessarily better, just different? And more specifically, have you ever wondered why, despite all the changes, all the losses, all the responsibilities you've carried, you sometimes feel more at peace today in your 60s or 70s than you ever felt in your 40s? It may seem strange, even confusing, because society tells us that youth is supposed to be the happiest time of life. We're told that our 30s and 40s should be filled with energy, excitement, drive, and a sense of purpose. But for many people, those decades were filled with pressure, stress, expectations, and invisible emotional burdens. And now, in a stage of life where the world expects you to slow down, you're suddenly discovering something surprising, that your mind feels calmer, your heart feels softer, and your spirit feels more grounded. Today, we're going to explore something scientists have researched for decades, but most people don't hear about until much later in life: the happiness curve. It's a U-shaped emotional pattern found in more than 130 countries, indicating that happiness does not peak in youth. It actually tends to peak much later in life, often in the mid-60s and 70s. And once you understand why, you may never look at aging the same way again. You may even realize that you are entering, or have already entered, one of the most emotionally satisfying chapters of your life. So, let's talk about it. Let's talk about why your happiness has changed, why your mind may feel clearer, and why decades of emotional weight seem to be slowly lifting. Most importantly, let's talk about why your 70s might actually be the happiest, most meaningful, and most liberating years of your life. Number one, researchers across the world, from Harvard to London to major international institutions, have studied happiness across an entire lifetime. What they found is astonishing. Happiness doesn't form a straight line. It doesn't slowly decline, and it doesn't peak in youth. Instead, it forms a U shape. People tend to be fairly happy in their 20s, then happiness begins dropping in their 30s, sinking even lower in the 40s and 50s, until it reaches a bottom point, an emotional low, often somewhere between ages 47 and 52. And then something remarkable happens. The curve begins to rise, slowly at first, then steadily, consistently, powerfully. And by the time people reach their mid-60s or early 70s, their happiness levels often match or even exceed the happiness they experienced in their 20s. This means something profound. It means that those years in your 40s and 50s where you felt overwhelmed, exhausted, confused, or dissatisfied, those experiences were not failures. They were not signs of something wrong with you. They were not proof that you lacked direction or purpose. They were part of a universal psychological pattern, something millions of people experience across cultures, countries, backgrounds, and lifestyles. You weren't broken. You were in the middle of the curve. And now, as you enter your 60s or 70s, you're rising again, not by accident, but because that's how the human emotional system evolves. Number two, think back to your 40s and 50s. Think about how many directions your life was being pulled in. You may have been raising children, building a career, dealing with financial responsibilities, caring for aging parents, maintaining a household, managing relationships, juggling expectations, and trying desperately to keep everything together. It's no wonder happiness dipped during those years. You were carrying more emotional weight than any human should reasonably carry, and yet you kept going because you had to. You were the foundation for everyone around you, but something changes after 60 or 70. The pressure that once felt overwhelming begins to lighten. You no longer wake up with the same urgency or sense of being responsible for everyone else's happiness. You don't feel the need to compete with others. You don't measure yourself against anyone's expectations. You don't feel the weight of proving yourself or reaching some invisible milestone. The roles that once defined you begin to soften, and with that softening comes a profound sense of release. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment "joy" below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 3. There's a misconception that the brain only declines with age, but modern neuroscience shows something far more beautiful. As you age, your brain undergoes an emotional refinement. You become better at regulating stress. You become better at letting go of anger. You become better at focusing on the present moment. You become better at choosing what deserves your attention and what doesn't. Younger adults often struggle with emotional reactivity. They worry more about judgment, chase external validation, and get pulled into drama or conflict. But as you grow older, you naturally shift away from these habits. You realize that most conflicts don't matter. You realize that many things you worried about were not worth the energy. You realize that peace is far more valuable than winning an argument. Scientists call this emotional regulation maturity, and it tends to peak in later life. Number 4. During your younger years, happiness was often tied to achieving things. Success, productivity, status, goals, accomplishments. You were expected to build a life, create stability, prove your worth, and meet society's standards. But as you reach your later years, something shifts inside you. Happiness no longer comes from what you achieve. It comes from what you feel, what you appreciate, what you understand, what you value. Number 5. Freedom is one of the strongest predictors of happiness, and it expands dramatically as you grow older. It's not just the freedom of time, it's the freedom of the soul, the freedom to say no, the freedom to choose what you want, the freedom to live life at your own rhythm, the freedom to ignore things that once weighed you down, the freedom to be unapologetically yourself. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment "joy" below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 6. This part is difficult but important. As you age, you face losses. Loved ones pass, relationships shift, children grow up and move away. Life changes, sometimes in ways you didn't expect. These experiences hurt deeply, but they also reveal a profound truth. You learn to cherish what remains. You learn to value moments more intensely. You learn to love more honestly. You learn to appreciate the present because you understand its fragility. Number 7. You've lived long enough to know that happiness is not a constant smile. It's not excitement. It's not adventure or success or perfection. Happiness in your 70s becomes something quieter, gentler, richer. It becomes a warm cup of tea in the morning, a familiar voice on the phone, a peaceful evening without worries, a memory that brings comfort, a moment of clarity, a sense of belonging within yourself. Final thoughts. The happiness curve is more than research. It's a reminder that you have not passed your best years. In many ways, you are entering them. You are wiser, calmer, stronger, and more aware of what truly matters. You've learned to let go. You've learned to appreciate. You've learned to be present. And because of that, your 70s, and even your 80s, can be filled with emotional richness younger people can't even imagine. Closing. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more video like this. Grow wise. Live deeper.